Greetings!
Right?
You're watching Septum Sen versus the World. I'm Septum Sen. I'm here with Kotobuki Jake. And we're here to have a little bit of fun this time. We're going to talk about junk while some of us are eating some junk food.
Yes. Although, we're going to be talking about the cinematic equivalent of a 3-day-old apple turnover from McDonald's.
Very unhealthy junk
Whereas this, the JJ's pies,
Pardon me.
would be more the equivalent of Futurama.
Or actually, I don't know. Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death. I am getting my entire money's worth out of this one.
If JJ's made an avocado, like a guacamole, I'd have to try it.
But for those of us who are collecting films, some of us have rules we follow. Some of us, like myself, feel that you have to get some films in the collection. And if you have one film and a series of films, you've got to get all the films within reason. Like, I don't count Disney sequels as real sequels for the most part.
For the most part. Rescuers Down Under?
Yeah.
Definitely.
And actually Return of Jafar.
Return of Jafar.
But that's an Aladdin trilogy, and Disney Movie Club actually released both of those on a Blu-ray set, which makes it easy for me.
I think Return of Jafar was their first straight-to-video one, wasn't it? It was easily one of the best.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And Robin Williams returned for the third movie.
The movie itself wasn't that great, though.
Which is weird, because that's the one that gets more critical praise than Return of Jafar. But with that being said, though, unfortunately, we end up with some films that we just don't care for. Just for particular reasons. Be it finishing a collection, be it getting a number of credits for a certain actor, or just because the film is regarded well and we need to have it in the collection to have it there.
Or it was an Oscar nominee or something like that.
Oh, yeah. And that's the the case.
A film can be an Oscar nominee and not be well regarded. Boss baby.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and start since you started with the pickups earlier this week.
All right.
And one of these is actually we'll have one. Our second one will be very similar, but for different reasons. This one is actually a case of collecting a series. And it's weird because this is the first film I've seen in this series, which made me think this series is going to suck. And that is Ginger Snaps Back, the beginning. Ginger Snaps Back, the beginning follows this group in medieval times. It is a werewolf series, starring Catherine Isabel and Emily Perkins. For those of you familiar with their work, I'm not very. But this is the third movie in the series. It's a prequel. And people in my circles really like the Ginger Snaps films. This one's in medieval times. One of them is afflicted with a werewolf curse, and she's slowly turning into a werewolf. And then her sister is doing what she can to cure her. Mm-hmm. The film was very slow in its pacing, and the ending made me hate this film. I'm not going to ruin it for you if you really must see it, but I hated the ending, and I hated the two characters after that. I could not watch this film without wanting to just spit on these characters. I could not stand it. I, for the longest time, would not watch any other films in the series because of this film. But people did convince me to watch the next one, the second film. Believe it or not, it's kind of weird how I got to see these. I saw them backwards. So I watched the second film. And on a lark, because I got it for $1. And I was drawn in. I was very impressed. It is still my favorite of the three, and to me it was an excellent film. It discussed a lot of things such as mental illness, drug addiction, various aspects of the human psyche that to me they were just excellent. I recommend that one. And then I watched the first one, and the first one was a good werewolf film with a unique take. And they played on some similar aspects of what was in this, but they played it better. Much, much better. This kind of just, I feel like they said, okay, this is the basic concept. Let's run with it in this direction. All right, good. In the can, let's make money. So, that's my general thoughts on our first.
In the can is a manner of speaking.
Yeah, well.
You know, you reminded me, we were talking about that, of a particular werewolf film that I saw that it remains to this day one of my least favorite films I saw in theaters, The Brotherhood of the Wolf. Actually, and I know a lot of people like that movie. I think you're getting ready to say you like it.
Except for the end.
I hated the ending. I hated the ending. It was an okay movie, but I hated the ending, and that really kind of messed it up for me. So, my next one, or my first one rather, I have a generic cover here. You may want to see if you can find a poster for the actual film.
I don't have a poster, but
Septum actually got me a really cool set a while back called Attack of the Bees.
Oh, you actually got to watch it.
And I watched it a while ago. And this has some good, it actually has some good stuff on it. It has, well, good in a manner of speaking. Certainly some classics. You got the MST3K classic Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. And then you've got the Ed Wood classic Plan 9 from Outer Space. There were a couple of Roger Corman films on here. I think A Bucket of Blood is Corman, right?
Yep.
And then the original, The Little Shop of Horrors. And you have early credits from people. There's a couple of Jack Nicholson credits on here. You know, I think Little Shop is one of them. So there's some very interesting credits.
Yeah.
But one of the movies, most of the movies I found some enjoyment. A couple of them were tedious, but some of them I found some enjoyment. But one of them bored me to tears. It was Artifacts level boring. It was so bad. And I feel sad because it helped launch the career of the late Richard Kyle, who, of course, went on to be in a couple of Bond films. And that is the movie Yiga.
So, did you say it was like somebody sentenced you to torture?
Similar.
When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture, to torture, to torture, to torture.
But Yiga is a very bad movie.
Well, yeah, it's on
and
T3K.
And it has almost no entertainment value for me. If I could watch the Mystery Science version, I might enjoy it better, but I was bored to tears by it. And honestly, I had to scrape to come up with a third for this week, so that was one. There are a couple of movies I genuinely made to consider removing from my collection, but I was trying to think of ones I legitimately can't get rid of. And really, I just could. It was hard coming up with three. Yeah, but I think I got Ega is a pretty good one. My other two are definites.
And there's enough films that you're kind of like musts to have in that collection that you.
Oh yeah, this is a great collection, and it's 18 movies. And even though they're old movies that for the most part are not quality, the Blu-ray transfer is not bad. I mean, it's not extraordinary, but it's not bad.
You know, it's kind of
that was cool.
Interesting that our last our two others are very well connected in ways.
Yes.
So do we want one's connected by the I'll go first and you can go second on yours because it's two different reasons.
Yeah.
Mine is also in a collection called the Ernest's Wacky Adventures Volume 2. I actually enjoy most of Ernest's stuff. I've got the Ernest TV show, and I've got all of the movies, and all of the rare ones, all the ones that were just near out of print. They packaged a lot of those in this Volume 1 and Volume 2, and they were $5 each, which is great. I mean, this one has Ernest Goes to School, Ernest Goes to Africa, Hey Vern, It's My Family album. By the way, Hey Vern, It's My Family album was great. I love that one. And Ernest Goes to School is a guilty pleasure. And Ernest
I'm not
Goes...
sure I've actually seen that one.
It's a hard one to find if you're trying to find it on its own. And Ernest Goes to Africa is bad, but I enjoy it because they like try to pawn off a boa constrictor as a cobra. This cobra is like, no. But the one that is on here is one that I actually tossed out of my collection because I could not stand it.
I think I caught it.
Is Slam Dunk Ernest. Now, now that I've gotten all of them, including the Dr. Otto and the Gloom Beam, which was Ernest's first appearance on film, I now feel the need to keep it, but I dislike it. It's got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in it, I think it is. Yep. Mm-hmm. Which, that always is a great film right there. And it's I'll let him just.
Hey, we now have a basketball player as an Oscar winner, so
That's true, but not him. And generally, I just don't find it funny. It falls flat. Yeah. It tries to be like we're going to appeal to a certain group of people, and in some cases it works in campy ways, like Leprechaun in the Hood, and sometimes it does not. Now, I'll let you talk a little bit more on this because, if I recall correctly, you also have a similar film.
I do. Now, I think I got his copy. I'd like to get those Wacky Adventure sets because, like he said, some of them are almost impossible to get otherwise. I think I've seen Ernest Rides Again once. I don't think I've seen Goes to School. I'm not sure I've seen In the Army either, actually. I do have Hey Vern, It's Ernest, and I hope to watch it one of these days. And
the Greatest Hits ones are also good because it has all the old commercials on it.
Oh, yeah, I remember. I remember those from when I was a kid. I think they played them on Saturday morning.
Yeah, they're excellent sets.
So that'll be very cool. Now this, like he said, it falls flat. So flat. Now, Jim Varney was a far more talented actor than a lot of people give him credit for. And Ernest was just one of several characters he played. And he played the character to the hilt. And it's an unfortunate case of typecasting really getting in someone's way. The first two Ernest films, Ernest Saves Christmas is a bona fide classic. You cannot legitimately dispute it as a Christmas classic. It's actually a decent film.
Yeah.
And it was the first one where he really started doing the costume antics that became a big part of the series. The whole part where he plays the snake wrangler, Poison. It's like, you want one for your boy? I gave one to my boy once. But
singing rock
and then
1 minute you're a big, fat and healthy man, and the next, snap, you're dead meat, deep sick.
I better check it out.
Careful now, they'll knot up on you. Them poison snakes will do that. You gotta get them all round. When they get knotted up on you like that, you get real crazy. Especially on a day like today when it's real hot. You want one for your boy? I gave one to my boy last year.
No, that's all right. Just take the truck
on.
on over to Stage 5.
Back her left, for me. Let me high. Henry. That's all these movie people want. Poison.
And, Ernest Goes to Camp is a genuine classic. Ernest Goes to Jail started to slip a little.
Yeah,
Ernest Scared Stupid was good.
That's
I've
rare,
actually
Jen.
not.
That's
I've
like
actually
$100
not seen
bucks.
this one either. I
I
need
got
to.
lucky with this one, but yeah, normally $100.
But Ernest Scared Stupid was the start of the end. The first four were great, but this one, basically, he was going through the motions at this point, and
God.
they were ultra low budget. They were just really, let's milk this for all it's worth. You know, luckily in the meantime, he had a recurring role at the Toy Story. Unfortunately, he died before the third movie came out. And he had a healthy career as a songwriter. He had a lot of songs come out.
Well, he's a very talented character
Yeah.
actor.
Very, very good. And now, of course, I have one other additional reason why this is a must for me. I've never confirmed this, but my dad claimed that we were distant cousins of this guy. And that's cool. I like having that sort of as a family connection. It may not be accurate. One day I'll take the trouble to figure it out. But in the meantime, it's a good enough a reason as any why I want to have them in my collection.
Oh, yeah.
But this genuinely is one of the worst films that I have.
Admittedly, if you can get the greatest hits ones, because you can collect it and then you can excuse having that movie.
Exactly, yeah.
So now we're going to go into award winners.
Yes.
See, that's another. We're moving through categories.
Yes.
And movies that we have sort of an obligation to because of the critical acclaim, in one sense or another. For me, I have the goal of collecting every Oscar-winning film. I feel like an excellent collection would have every Oscar winner. And eventually, I'm going to get a shelf. I'm going to put all my Oscar-winning films on that shelf. Don't know when, but that's going to be my Oscar shelf.
What are you at now? About 10%?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I've got some years complete.
Ah,
Actually, most
nice.
of the recent years in the 2000s, I do have almost all.
And I'll grant you, he does a lot better than I do because he targets them as they win.
Yeah.
He will actually order them as they win. And I am cheap and I'll wait until they go down in price. But
Well, I have to wait for some because I can't
Yeah.
afford some.
Yeah.
But I am going to get shape in the water.
And I have got a few that you don't have. I think you don't
yeah,
have
you have a
departures, so that's at
No, I
least
do
one.
have to.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Okay.
But
I did have it for you.
some of them to me are kind of boring. Some of them to me are kind of, I don't really know why it won, but okay. And there are two in particular that I detest. I'm gonna do an honorable mention for Crash because I hated that movie.
That wasn't the only one. I put you to sleep with Il Postino. You didn't
Postino
like
put me to sleep. You
Sideways.
see, this is the things is that some of them do have that. So some of these Oscar ones do ding me, and I don't have Il Postino, but I do have Sideways. But the one that won, I think, even more awards than that other one that I hate, the Crash, because Crash only won Best Picture.
Was that it? I could have sworn it won something else.
But not a lot.
Didn't
This
it get
one,
like a screenplay award? I don't know.
But this one won a whole bunch of awards.
5 awards?
There was 5 awards, including Best Picture.
Yep.
And I cannot stand this film.
Now, granted,
And
I myself will admit that one of the wins has lost its luster recently.
I was going to say, and now recent times, you give me more reason to hate this film. And that is American Beauty. And if you take some of the modern times, because some of the films that are older ones that I've watched over 100 times because I used to watch the same films over and over and over again. So you can't really compete. But as far as modern films, when I get into collecting, this is one of the films I have seen the most. Because I've been encouraged, give it a chance. No, I want to see this movie. This is a great movie. We need to see this movie. I don't want to see this movie ever again. American Beauty to me is just the epitome of disgust. Disgust with life, disgust with everything. Kevin Spacey, of course, drags it down even further now that we know stuff there.
Yeah.
we were talking about stuff in the last video that we did yesterday, and sadly, he's one of those that definitely is guilty of the things, and they're not very nice things. Yeah. Of course, Annette Bening was good, and the acting was good. And that's the other thing I hate
great.
is I have to give it props.
Yeah.
I don't want you to think that I think this is a terrible movie in design. It is an excellent movie in design.
It's not that.
Kevin Spacey's acting is on point. All of their acting is on point. The set design, the cinematography, all of this stuff, it's just amazing. Mm-hmm. But I hate the film. Mm-hmm. And that can be said with a lot of films. There are films that are there. Like, there was a film, what was it? It started with an A that you didn't care for. Not Atonement, but...
Affliction?
Affliction. There's another one that is well acted, well written, well designed.
Phenomenal acting.
But,
James Coburn deserved that Oscar, but he played a monster in that film.
So, it sometimes is the case, though. I actually like Affliction, which is the funny part. But this film here, I hate the characters, all of them. So,
all of them.
It's just...
Every last one.
Which is funny because we both have kind of opposite opinions of this movie, but this, to me, one of my least favorite movies in my collection.
I do have to concede that the bloom is off the rose, if you will, with American Beauty. When I was younger, I loved it.
Right next to American Gangster.
I loved American Beauty. It was my favorite film for a few years there. I eventually conceded that The Godfather was better, but it only briefly was on top before I was like, you know what? The greatest film of all time is O Brother, Where Art Thou? And I've held that for several years now. But American Beauty, like you said, it is a great film on a technical level. Acting, production. I watched the commentary for that film. I know what they went through to make it, at least according to what they put on the disc. And I know, for example, with the cinematography, that they filmed a lot of the day scenes at night. And it doesn't look like it. They did a really good job with the lighting and everything. And incidentally, Conrad Hall, that was one of his... I think he did win for that, if I remember correctly. Oh, yeah. If he didn't, he was highly talked up for it. But yeah, everything about it, it's a quality film, except for the fact that some of the thematic elements are a little off, or I could see why they pushed some of your buttons and some of the thematic elements. And true, most of the characters are not the most likable. I don't really detest them the way that he did, although Annette Bening's character is a little bit of a shrill harpy, and the kid next door was just weird. Some of them were kind of... They could have been better characters, but I have to admit, the whole thing of, given the character... I like Lester Burnham. He's one of the more likable ones in the movie. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Spacey played him so well with such depth and such humanity, now to think about what he was really like as a person, it just... I haven't watched the movie since all this stuff came out, but it will affect my viewing. For better or worse, it will affect my viewing. I still think it's a great film, but I'm not going to have it at the top of the list anymore. Yeah. It'll probably still be a 10-star movie, but it's not going to be at the top of the list. And I won't really know for sure until I try watching it again.
Well, speaking of 10-star movies...
I was getting ready to say, on the other hand, my next movie is in my collection because I, too, want all the Oscar-winning films. It'll be a long time before that happens.
He wants the nominees.
I want all the nominees. And I know that's never going to happen because some of the old ones are lost.
Same thing for the winners too.
Some of the winners are lost
But
too, but
fewer.
a lot of the nominees from the first few years are gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll never have a complete collection, and that sucks. And God knows if I'll ever be able to have anything close to a complete collection of the short films.
Yeah.
I'm really focusing more on the features. But
Yeah,
it'd
same here.
be great to have all the shorts.
It would.
It would be.
I mean,
But-
I try and grab a whole bunch when I can find them
Right.
in a collection, but
Right. Like
Yeah,
that
it's
one you
just
got
hard,
with
yeah.
3 billboards.
yeah.
Which, incidentally, we didn't talk about that in the news. That we watched 6-Shooter.
Oh yeah.
That was cool. We
That was fun.
3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri comes with the first film by Mark McDonough, which is a short film called 6-Shooter that stars Brendan Gleeson.
That was good.
It's an odd little movie, but it's pretty
That was
good.
good.
Oh, sheep.
Yes. And exploding cows.
Yes. Oh, that's what the exploding cows. But anyway, something just as disturbing as exploding cows is Norbit, which was a movie that was nominated for Best Makeup.
Another gift I gave you.
This is another one I got. I think you got like a big box of movies,
Yeah,
right?
and I was like, I did not want it.
He did not want this in his collection, but it's an Oscar nominee. I couldn't pass up a chance to get it for free. I honestly have to admit
You
that
paid too much.
I paid too much, especially because I did watch it, so I lost that time. But this is a film that when Jon Stewart was doing his Oscars monologue, he said, "This is proof that the Oscars don't just nominate good films."
Oh god.
And I have said before that I believe that there is a strong love-hate relationship between the makeup branch and the rest of the Academy. I don't know what the makeup branch did to piss off the Academy, because it's in the bylaws that you only can have 3 makeup nominees.
Yeah.
It's the only category that only gets 3. And I have no idea why that is. So my guess is someone must have pissed somebody off. But if you look at the nominees that the makeup category has provided, that may be what they did to piss off the Academy. But they are very independent-minded.
Yeah.
They don't pay attention to whether a movie is any good or not. They nominate the ones, and I will say this. The nomination is the same guy that was nominated for Click, and
Yeah.
he was nominated and won this year for Darkest Hour. Kazuhiro Tsuji is really, really, really good at creating a convincing fat suit.
Yeah.
His other makeup work is good too, but it's freakishly good at making people look different, which is what makeup is all about. And I have to concede, the makeup in this movie is Oscar level. But the movie is not. Not at all.
Actually, I think that's around the time that they totally lost any faith in Eddie Murphy. Was around that
And
time.
Eddie Murphy is pretty good at playing multiple characters. But most of the characters in this one, he was mainly the main characters. And he played convincingly different characters, but he also went way over the top. And this was nowhere, like, you've got good Eddie Murphy movies. Like, I think this was the year after Dreamgirls came out, which is even funnier, because he has, like, one of the most talked about roles of his career. They followed it up with this crap. And he was great in Dreamgirls.
Oh, he was.
He was phenomenal in that one.
He's a good actor. He just takes crap roles.
He takes crap roles, and he's infamously prickly and not the most pleasant individual. Mm-hmm. And he has burned a lot of bridges in Hollywood. So he, even when he does a great job, oftentimes he doesn't get the credit that he could get. But he does take so many awful roles that doesn't help his case. It's like for every Dreamgirls, there's a Norbit. For every Nutty Professor, there's a Pluto Nash. You know, there's something.
Or Nutty Professor, too.
Exactly. So, it's Norbit is an awful movie, but it did have phenomenal makeup. But that is the only reason I have it. And unfortunately, I can't really justify getting rid of it, because if I do, I may have to pay for it when I decide to get it back. So it's like, I'd rather not. Now, what might be ideal was if you ever get to put out your tinfoil collection,
that would be one
and you do Oscar nominees that shouldn't have been. That'd be a great set.
You wouldn't want me in charge of that set, though. American Beauty would be number one on there.
You'd have a lot of people going, "What the hell?"
American Beauty. Let's see here. Brokeback Mountain, Crash.
You wouldn't want Brokeback Mountain on that list?
I feel like Brokeback Mountain was much like Crash. I feel like Brokeback Mountain's, though it was a decent love story, I feel like if it wasn't about two gay cowboys, it would not have. If it was just about two people, it would not have won anything. It would have been well liked, but it would not have been Oscar liked.
It wouldn't have got as much as it did.
I think. It was basically the Best Picture race at that year. It wasn't a really good year for that, but
it was a weak year.
But it was basically, which one do we look at more, gay rights or race? And race won out that year.
And unfortunately, I'm going to piss off a lot of people by saying that my best pick of the year was the Woody Allen film. But Match Point was a great movie.
Match Point was an excellent film.
Match Point was a great film. And it got almost no Oscar love. I think it was up for screenplay. That was it.
See, Woody Allen's, I like how he had actually said it. I just keep throwing up ideas, and of course, eventually one of them will be good. He has very little faith in his own own success, but he's got his own neuroticism, and he's a bit weird. But I'm not going to get into Woody Allen because we need to wrap things up.
Oh, we do, don't we?
Probably we're going to... we may or may not continue on with a lot of the format. We'll probably take down to the average of 3 per week, if we can, so we can have some time left over just to, chill out.
You're talking afterwards. As far as pickups and stuff?
I mean, as far as videos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just number of videos.
Okay.
But we just wanted to have some fun. Occasionally, when something big comes up, we'll probably throw this on.
Yeah.
I hope you all enjoyed this week worth of content. I'm going to be enjoying a lot of editing on it. And in any case, if you really like this, comment. Of course, like, subscribe, share. We're going to keep growing. Let
us know what the worst films in your collection are and why you've got to hold on to them. And
exactly, who knows? It might be that you got a film that's worth a ton of money.
Exactly,
there are some really bad films worth a lot of money these days.
Actually, I think some of those Ernest movies collected a bit of coin before. I think those Wacky Adventures probably made them a little less marketable.
Well, Ernest Goes to School used to be $100.
Yeah.
Dr. Otto and the Gloom Beam still goes between $20 and $100. If you catch it in the right time, like I did, you can get it for $20. And I've not seen it yet. I'll admit it's one of the only Ernest movies I have not seen. I'll have to do. As a matter of fact, that might be another review after I've done with my X-Strike stuff. Because it's a little appreciated film. They don't. No one talks about it, and it's his first film as Ernest.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, we will see you on the next one.